Okay, let's tackle one now. It's a little bit harder. So I'm on number 2 here from this worksheet. So we've got rational functions, but they're not linear now. The one on the bottom is a quadratic. On top, there's no x at all. So let's take a little bit more time on this one. So first rule though still applies. Asymptotes. Right? Let's find the asymptotes. Let's start with the vertical asymptote. So I'm going to look at the denominator and I'm going to factor that down first. So I'm going to make that -4 on top, and then I can pull an x out. So it's a quadratic, but it's kind of an easy one. And then, so now let's just look at the graph right away. So we're going to see we're going to have 2 vertical asymptotes. You're going to have one when x is 0, right? Because if x is 0, then the denominator automatically becomes 0. We can't let that happen. So it's kind of wonky. So it's going to go right over the y-axis itself. That's one asymptote. And the other one's going to be when x is 4. Because think about that, right? When x is 4, that would make 4 minus 4 0 right here. That would make 4 minus 4 0. That would make the denominator 0. We can't let that happen. So I'm going to have another asymptote at 4. So now we're going to basically, I'm going to redo this graph. We're going to have 3 regions. When you have 2 asymptotes, that's what happens. So we had one right here at this, and you had another one over here at 4. So you have this region over to the right. You have this region where it's going to be a graph. You have this region in between, and you have this region over here. So you have 3 separate legs, I guess, to this graph. Now let's look at the horizontal asymptote. What happens when x goes to infinity? Well, there's no x on top. So it's when x is infinity, the bottom's going to become super big. The top stays at -4. So of course that's going to go -4 divided by a big number. It's going to be 0. So the horizontal is just going to be right there. It's right at the axis. Normally when it's right on the axis, you don't really have to draw it again. But it can be helpful just to remind ourselves. So now the hard part, we got to start to graph. So since it's going to be right on the y-axis, we can't make x be 0. That won't give us a valid point. So we can't get to there. Let's start on the left-hand side and see what we do. And we're just going to work our way through the regions. And the middle region is going to be a little different, if I remember these right. But we'll be able to kind of figure it out. So this may take a little bit of time, but it's okay. So I'm going to pick x right. I'm going to pick it right to the left of 0. Oh, I erased the whole function. That wasn't good. Are we doing -4? Yeah, over x squared. There. -4 over x times x minus 4. So when x is just a little to the left of 0, let's say it's just -0.01, something like that. What's going to happen? So on the top, I'm going to have a -4. That's going to stay the same. And the bottom, I'm going to have a negative. What did I do? I must have hit something. Give me back. No, I don't want to go there. There. I want a 1/10 on the outside, -0.01. On the inside, I'm having -0.01 minus 4. So it's going to be a negative 4.01 times a 0.01, which will make it even smaller. And it's going to be a negative times a negative times a negative. So it's going to stay negative in the end. So in the end, I'm going to have a -4 on top, and then I'm going to have another negative number. I'm going to be a little bit fast with this, but I don't want, you don't make mistakes. So in the end, it's going to be like -0.12, I think, 4. So you have a negative divided by negative, so it's going to be a positive number on top. It's going to be a positive number. It's going to be a big positive number because I have 4 divided by a very, very small number, a very, very small fraction, right? That's the key. You're dividing by a fraction. When you divide by a fraction, you multiply. So it gets big. So I'm going to have a big positive number. So I'm going to be way up here at the very beginning. And if you want to check it, just come a little bit away from the fractions. Let's just go to x is -1, straight -1. Forget all the funky stuff. And it should be somewhere down in here, right? Right, I just made that dot. Let's see. So negative 4 over, get back to my green, over negative 1 times negative 1 minus 4. So that's going to be negative 4 on top. Negative 1, negative 4 is negative 5. Negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5. So it's negative 4/5. Wait a minute, did we do that right? It's negative times a negative is positive 4 times a negative 1. Jeez, I'm really losing it. So you guys got to be careful. Negative 1, oh God. This is not good. So it's negative 1 times, no, it's not times, it's negative 1 minus negative 4. See how I did the whole thing wrong. Very, very, very first point is wrong. See that? Oh my gosh. Because in the very beginning, when I looked at these two things, I was thinking multiplication. But it's not multiplication, it's addition. Right? It's negative 0.01 minus 4. So it's going to be negative. It's combining two negative numbers. There, that's what that's inside the parentheses. Dang. And then I multiply that by a negative number outside the parentheses. That's going to turn positive. Ooh. It's going to be like negative 0.01 times that. It's going to be like negative. It's going to be positive 0.041, something like that, around there. But it's positive. That's the key. So it's a negative on top, a positive on the bottom. So I know it's going to be negative. It's going to be down here. Good thing I tested it. So when I put in, let's go to negative 2 this time. We'll just check it because this is getting bad. Negative 2 times negative 2 minus 4. Be careful now. So negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. Negative 2 times negative 6 is positive 12. And negative 4 on top. That's negative 4 divided by 12. That's negative 1/3. So yes, it's getting closer to 0. Good. So we can be pretty confident it's going to go like that. You could pick another point like negative 10 to check. And then you can do the same thing on the right-hand side over here. Let's pick, so this point here is 4, right? So let's just go right to 5. Let's pick 5. Let's keep it a little easy. Let's not go right to the decimals. I'm going to erase all this stuff because I need more room. I'm going to leave in that mistake, so hopefully you don't get frustrated, you don't get lose patience with me. And you can just see it. I mean, it can happen if you're not thinking. So when x is 5, it's going to be negative 4 on top. It's going to be 5 times 5 minus 4. 5 minus 4 is 1 times 5. So it's going to be negative 4/5. So when x is 5, it's negative 4/5. It's going to be right about there. So chances are it's going to go like this. And you could pick, now we should pick a point really close. We should pick like 4.1. See what happens. So negative 4, 4.1, 5, dang it. 4.1 minus 4. Now once again, 4.1 minus 4 is still a positive number. It's going to be a very small positive number. It's going to be 0.1. But then 0.1 times 4.1 is going to be 0.41. It's still positive though, that's the key. And so it's negative on top, positive on the bottom. The bottom's always going to be positive. It's going to get smaller and smaller. So as the bottom is positive and the top is negative, that means the number's going to become like negative 20 and then negative 30 and then, right, it's going to dive down just like that. So it's good. So this is a different graph. It doesn't have that symmetry, right? It's got one on this side, one on that side. Now the middle is where it gets weird. And when you come to the middle, you're going to just have to pick those points right. I think if I remember correctly, it's going to be right on well, we should go a little bit to the right of 0. Let me erase it. This is a tough one to graph. But once you kind of get the hang of it, you have a feel for what the shape's going to be. Basically, these middle graphs, they always tend to have, they usually come up like, I'll show you like an example. They usually come up like this. They do something like that. Or they come down the other side like that. So let's find a couple points and see if we can get enough to guess our way in. So let's go just a little to the right of x is 0. Let's go to x is 1. And we go a little to the left. X is 3. So I'm going to this point and this point and see what's happening. So when x is 1, it's going to be negative 4 times 1 times quantity 1 minus 4. So that's going to be a negative number. So you're going to have negative 3 times 1, negative 3 on top, negative 4 on the... So yeah, so anywhere in this region between 0 and 4, the denominator is always going to be negative because you're subtracting off 4. Think about that. So it's always going to be negative. The top is always negative. So it's always going to be a positive number. 4/3 is right about here. So it's always going to be a negative. If it's always going to be a positive number, it might just be a parabola. Let's see what happens at 3. So when it goes to 3, negative 4 times 1. Three minus 4 is negative 1 times 1. So I have negative 4 over negative 1. So I have positive 4. So it got big. Maybe it's not a parabola. You know, not be so quick to assume things. So I had the 4/3, and now I have straight up 4. Okay, let's get closer. Let's get in that fractional zone and see if what happens. So let's just get a little bit to the right of 0. Let's go to 0.01. So I have negative 4, 0.01, 0.01 minus 4 is going to be a negative 3.99. I think that's right. Because 1 times it positive. So that's going to be a negative on top. And in the bottom, I'm going to have a small negative. So it's going to make it blow up. So it should be a really big positive number. And then it's going to come back. I don't know, maybe it is then it's a tight little parabola. You pick another couple and see. I'm going to go into Desmos and then check it on Desmos and let's see what happens. So let me pop over to Desmos. Oh, I got to download it. Oh my gosh. Well, you guys go on your Desmos and you can test it, and hopefully I did it right. So, don't worry too about that. That's number 2 and number 5 are like that. So just try your best on those. Just picking a few points. Just getting the practice is good with that.